Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is Tips and Tricks Tuesday and we're going to be continuing with the Colored Pencil 101, Your Coloring Journey. Now, as I was talking about on the last one, of course, was the difference between grayscale, the difference between line art, the difference between pencils and everything else, and how to choose all of those different things. Today, we're going to talk about more in the coloring areas, the things that we need to have available on our desk and that sort of thing. I'm just going to adjust that camera so that you're not looking at the floor. So these are all of the things that I keep on my desk while I'm coloring. Of course, a little cup that holds the pencils that I'm using. And that always stays up here. This pad I use because it's solid and it gives me a firm surface to color on. I keep a fan brush handy to brush off any excess colored pencil dust and things like that. In order to see my page and my pictures, I have a little lamp. Now this is an light and it has some LEDs. It's quite bright. I can adjust it. It tells me what time it is so I can, not lose track of all time. And that usually sticks right up at the top of my coloring area. It opens up, so it gives me quite a large space. Ooh, sorry, didn't mean to blind you. Gives me a large space to color in with enough light. So we're going to turn that off so it doesn't blind you anymore. Another thing that I keep on my desk at all times is erasers. I really, really like the triangle eraser from Prismacolor. I use it a lot when I'm doing backgrounds for clouds and all different other things, as well as erasing really large areas quickly. I keep the Mono 0 handy for really, really tiny erasing jobs. And then for the larger erasing jobs, but not massive erasing jobs, I have found that the electric eraser works very well. It also works really well on other mediums, so not just colored pencil. Another thing I keep handy at all times, of course, is my blending pencil. Mine is getting a little short. This one is the Caran d'Ache blending stick. You can get them in a 2-pack and they work beautifully. They will sharpen in any sharpener and that kind of thing. Another thing I keep on my desk and available at all times, of course, is my pencil sharpener. Now you can use whatever pencil sharpener you find works best for you. I do keep this one available on my desk for sharpening shorter pencils that won't fit in this one. I don't like using these very much. I tend to break pencils with them, so I don't use them a lot. If I can fit it in here, I will use this instead. I know it eats the pencil a little bit more, but if I'm breaking leads constantly, I might as well just eat the pencil a little bit and not break the lead. So do what fits you and fits your style. All right, so those are the things that we keep on our desk for use, for work. Now for the fun stuff. I know that we went through different coloring books last time, and I wanted to touch base with that again, with the different types of coloring books that are available now. Well, they're always been available, but the different types of coloring books that I have found and used and the different aspects to them. For example, the 50 Spring Miniatures by Camelia Angelkova. Absolutely adorable little book. But as you can see, there's very little detail in the drawing. There's very little shading, very little detail. This is a type of book that you will have to put those shadows, those shades, and that detail in yourself. And to a new artist, a new colorist, I should say, that's very daunting. You see all these pictures with absolutely beautiful shading and beautiful coloring, and you color something that doesn't have those outlines for you, and it looks very flat in comparison. And I used to get down on myself all the time because of that, because I wasn't sure where to put the shadows. I wasn't sure where the light source was going to be coming from. And that's something that we're going to deal with today, is how to look at light sources and fun stuff like that. But this kind of picture is what we all start with, is a very basic line art kind of picture. And that's perfectly fine. You will find it more difficult if you don't know shadows, don't know shading, don't know, you know, these are things that we learn as we progress. You're not expected, and if anybody expects you to know all of these things from the start, then that person is mean, and we don't like them anyway. I know that was rude, but it's true. If you feel that you absolutely should know this stuff, and it's the first page you've ever colored, you're wrong. You can definitely put in shadows, and you definitely put in shading. You know, there's some areas that are absolute. Like, for example, back here would be an absolute shadow area. No matter which way you point that light, this area is going to be shaded. There's some absolutes in there, but you know, the absolute of this area here that's in the nest, that's going to be a shadow from the nest. But if you don't know where your light source is coming from, it makes shading different things more difficult. However, there's always little hints, little tiny clues. And I'm going to switch you over to the other camera, and I'm going to show you the clue in this picture on where your light source is coming from. So just give me a second here. Switch you over to the close-up. And we're going to move you around until it's there. So the clue in this picture is on these little mushrooms here. It's giving you a little bit of shadow area on either side of the mushroom, and then a spot right in the middle of bare. So what that's telling me is that the light source is coming straight at it. So this area here in this little pathway is giving you where your light source is coming from. So everything front on is going to have the light source. Everything on the sides is going to be shadowed. Like, for example, this part of the mushroom behind this mushroom is going to be a shadow. This area here behind this mushroom is going to be a shadow. You know, this area of the door behind the mushroom is going to be a shadow. You know, so it's a gradual thing. Watch where your shadows are going to be. You know, of course, you can find a page and change the shadow direction. If you don't like the flat, straight on light, then by all means, you can change that. Just remember that when you do change that, you need to change the direction of the shadow. And we're going to look at that and touch base on that today. Now, this is a line art. And, you know, I told you that when I started in line art, and it scared me. And my pictures looked horrible. So I started coloring in a light grayscale. Now this is a sketch light grayscale. You can see the full picture here fully colored. Now if this was a grayscale created from the picture that we have here, it would be a lot darker in this area, under the paws. It'd be quite dark, especially up here in the face and that sort of thing. So what a sketch grayscale is the artist has put in a little bit of light shading detail. For example, down here on the ground, up here in, behind his paws, all those shadow areas that you would have if the light was coming straight at you. This one is coming this way a bit, coming down this way, which is giving the light areas, that are pointing towards the light source. You can see the light source here. So, follow that light source in the shadows. You can see that it's darker up here and lighter in the center. You can see that this area here is darker, but the center area is quite light. So when you have a shaded grayscale like this, it's a lot easier to color. Just watch where your shadows are. Watch where the artist has directed you into where the light source is. And that's a shaded grayscale. Now, several artists use this technique to make their grayscale coloring books. Julia Spiri is one of those artists. Another one, and we'll use this one to compare grayscale to line art. Another one that does that is Christine Caron. And I have two different books, well, two of the same books here. One is a line art and one is grayscale. They have the identical pictures in it. However, one is just straight line art and one has been grayscaled. Now, if you take a look at this page, let's see, I've got it marked. I can't show you all of them because I have removed some of the pages because I've colored them. If you look at this page, you can see where all your shadows are going to be, where your light source is going to be. Your light source is right here. So that's telling me that the light source is coming direct on, straight on. It's not coming down. It's straight in. Now, one of the things I really enjoy about Christine Caron's drawings, even her line art drawings, is you can tell there's little telltale hints of where that light source is going to be. It's telling you here where it's whiter of where that light source is coming from. The one thing I do enjoy about grayscale a little bit more than line art is it's a little bit more detailed. So if you take a look at these two pictures next to each other here, you can see more of the details in the grayscale than you can in the line art. And that's just because of the attention to where the shadows are going to be. There isn't more in this picture than this picture. It's just where the shadows are that has been added. Like, for example, in this flower here. This is the exact same flower, but with the shadows being added to it, with the depth being added to it, it looks a little bit different. Same with her face. Her face is exactly the same, but the shadows have been added to give it depth. And this is also a drawn picture. I don't believe that this is one that is done colored and then grayscaled, just with the lightness of the grayscale. I've seen some of her colored works. Let's see if I can find this picture. It may not be in here. And yeah, that picture is not in here. But you can go to Christine Caron's website and take a look at the colored pictures. Like this picture here is very, very dark. There's a lot of dark elements to this picture. If this picture was grayscaled in this manner with this kind of picture, it would be very dark. Just like this one here, if it was grayscaled from this picture, from this coloring, it would be very dark. And I think I still have that one in the grayscale book. So let's take a look at that one and see how dark it is. Like I said, I have colored a lot out of this book, but this one I have not. So as you can see, there is some shadowing, there is shading and everything else on this picture. However, the really, really dark areas, like on her face, aren't extremely dark. They're shadowed and shaded, but they're not completely colored. So this is definitely a drawn shadowing and then colored afterwards. So what the artist has done is she's drawn the picture in a line art, and then she has taken her pencil and just shadowed in the areas where she saw the shadows at. And those are two different types of coloring books that are really, really good to work with. If you can find an artist like Christine Caron, like Jane Madej, I think it's Jane. Yeah, Jane Madej, like Julia Sperry, different artists that do a line art as well as a grayscale book of the same book. It does help a lot in seeing where those shadows should be and teaching you where the artist saw those shadows at. I won't say where those shadows should be, because it's just where the artist saw the shadows at. You can, of course, change these things in those lighter scales or in line art. Then we have the next type of grayscale, and this is a heavy grayscale. This is made by grayscaling or photocopying a picture that has been heavily colored. A lot of this artist's pictures are very dark orientated. And this is, of course, Selena Finish, and you can see her colored or her painted pictures on her website. And I would suggest looking at those when coloring her grayscale. Her pictures are absolutely fantastic, but she uses a lot of dark colors when she colors and when she paints. And all of these grayscales are grayed out versions of her paintings and her drawings. So she has drawn this, painted it, and then taken a picture of it and grayscaled it. She definitely does have all of these things in line art as well. So you can use her grayscale to see where her light effects are and where her shadows are on her line art as well. Now, her line art is a little bit of a different size and sometimes doesn't have all of the details involved, like she adds different things when she's coloring. So this would be classified as a darker darker grayscale. And the only reason why it's darker, of course, is because there are a lot of dark colors used. The darker your grayscale is, the darker the colors that were used in it, is usually the reasoning behind it. So you can tell, for example, this one, you can tell that these two beautiful ladies have blonde hair or light colored hair because of the whiteness in the picture. You can tell this young lady has darker hair, either a brown or an auburn color Same with this one here. You can tell that some parts of her hair are really dark and that the light coming in from behind her is highlighting some of her hair. Sometimes they're a little bit deceptive when you look at them. There's so many different light sources going on here. The fairies are light sources. The open door behind this fairy is a light source. So there's all different light sources all over her dress, all over her, as well as coming in through the door behind her, as well as up here and over here and over here. So there's light coming from everywhere, and not to mention her own light source because she is a fairy. So you have to be careful when you're coloring things like this that are in line art, that you don't put too little light in. So that is a heavy grayscale. Now, one of my favorite books, as I told you on last Tuesday, to start off with grayscale with is, of course, the Jane Madej Adorable Animals. The reason why I really enjoy starting off with this book, and I have a surprise for you all. I have a second one. Just to show you, as well as, a bit of a coloring contest that we're going to have going on. But this book is fantastic for several reasons. It gives you a wonderful introduction to grayscale. It tells you all about the best ways and after choosing your medium and everything else. It also gives you practice areas. Shows you the different ways, that the different things that you can use and how they're going to look on this grayscale. Different ways to color the cat, how to move onto the practice. Same with the apple, how to move onto the practice. And the wonderful little bird. And then it gives you a fantastic little practice page here, which you can take out. All of these are perforated, so you can take them out, photocopy them, and practice as much as you like before moving on to these beautiful pages. And all of these pages are perforated and just absolutely gorgeous grayscale. Some is a little bit darker, and her grayscale is photoed grayscale. It is just, she uses such bright and light colors, and then she lightens it via Photoshop or whatever way that she has taken a picture of it down enough that you can still see a lot of the detail, but have a lighter grayscale to work with. And in the back of this book, you can see all of her pictures. Every single one of the pictures that are colored here is colored in the back of the book. So you have an inspiration guide. You can see where the light source is for this one, what she colored them with, how it looks, and that sort of thing. So that you can of course choose your own colors, but you can see with a metal can how that metal shines, how that works and stuff like that. Of course, you can also use her colors so that you can get a good hang of how these things are colored. Birds, animals, and the sort are difficult to color, especially if you're just starting out. So this book will give you a really good idea of how the artist saw her picture when she drew it, how she saw it when she colored it, and it also walks you through a few different ways of coloring the grayscale colors. as well as birds, animals, and all that fun stuff. Now, the surprise is I do have two of these, and I do have a book coming as well that goes hand in hand with this book, and it is a line art book done by Jane that has the same step-by-step instructions um, inside as well. I haven't looked at that book yet. It will be coming in the next day or two. So next Tuesday, we will be looking at that book. At the end of um, the week, I think on Monday next week, in Collection Mania Monday, I will go through and choose a winner. So for the two books. So on any of the videos, especially this one, I would rather it be on this one. If you can say hello, thank you for helping me, your videos are a help, anything that that tells me that you've watched and you are enjoying the video, we'll put your name in a hat and we will draw from those names on Monday next week for this beautiful book, as well as a secondary one that I will be doing a flip through of later on during the week. So that is the giveaway for this wonderful book, and to help you in your journey of grayscale and line art coloring. Now, we're going to do a couple of different things in order to look at different directions of light. So I have some little cards here with different directions of light. So the sun is up on this side. So we're going to take a light and a dark blue. So the sun is coming down from here. So it's going to hit this area and this area of this cube. This area of the cube is going to be darker. So we're going to color this area of the cube dark because it is in the shadows. And you've probably, seen this a billion times before. But sometimes it's repetition, sometimes does help a lot. So that area is definitely going to be dark because it is in the shadows. And I'm going to put you on the close-up camera here so you can see it a little bit better. And I'm going to stop moving it around. Now, we have our sun coming down this way. So, of course, it doesn't go in one direct beam. It does light up everything on this side of the cube. So that includes the top part of the cube to a certain extent. So we're going to end up with some shadow up on the cube as well as down here on this lower area here as well as the back side of the cube. Now the bottom part of this cube, of course, isn't going to get very much sunlight at all. So I'm quickly just going to fill this in. Now I'm doing this very messy and very quick, so don't worry about it too much on neatness at this point. Now we're going to take our light blue and we're going to go into where it's going to be lighter because of that light source. Now you can do this with grays, you can do this with black and white and that sort of thing. I just happen to have two blue pencils handy. So when you bring those two together, just make sure that you just blend them out. and try to keep them fairly even with each other so that you're not getting an odd shape light source. Okay, so that light source coming from that end is going to spill over onto this lower part of the cube. Now, cubes are a little bit more difficult than, say, round objects and that sort of thing because they're a flat surface. So, you know, even though there's a light source there, if it was down a little bit lower, it probably wouldn't hit this side of the cube at all. So then we have one that's directly above. So the only area that is going to get any light is this area here, straight up above. So pretty much everything on the sides of the cube and the front of the cube, there may be some light reflected from the top of the cube down onto the frontal surface of the cube. But with cubes, it's really difficult because, like I said, they're flat surfaces. And when you have, like, say, a brick of some sort, and you put a light source straight up above it, you're going to see a little bit coming down on the sides, but most of those sides are going to be darker. So we're going to cover up the darker side of the sides of the cube, and then we're going to use our light on the top and just coming down just a little bit off of the edge of the cube. And of course, the back of the cube would be lighted because that's where that is. I'm just going to blend that in together. And what this is doing is it's taking a really dark into a medium because there's still a little bit of light pouring off of that top, but it's not enough to light up that side of the cube. It's just enough to pour down the front of the cube. So I'm just blending that all together so that it picks up the right color combinations. So what I've done is I've used 3 different shades of blue. I've used a dark blue on the bottom, a light blue on the top, and down a little bit off the top into the face of this cube and the side of this cube. And what that does when I put the darker over top of it is it changes the darker's color into a medium blue. So as you can see a little bit of light coming down off of there, but not a lot. Same with over here. You can see a little bit of the light coming down, but not as much up, not as much down here. Well, you won't see any come down here. So that's why it's darker down here, a medium up here, and light up there. And of course, this would be the same way with the sun coming the opposite direction of this one. So this one, the sun is coming this way. So we've got our little sun there, and it's coming down this way. So your light source is here. So the areas that are going to be lit up, of course, are going to be up here and down here. So everything from here over becomes darker. Everything down here becomes darker. And everything down here becomes darker. and we will join those together. Of course, the back side of this cube is lit up because of the light source. However, the front side of the cube isn't going to get any light source at all. It might get a little bit coming over the top, but the front panel of this cube is not going to get any light source. So we're going to put the light blue into it, and we're just going to blend them together and bring those two colors together, and I'll add a little bit more dark blue there to get the light blue into its transition. And what I mean by transition is it going from a light to a dark, instead of doing it so that there's a stark line. Why is that so bright? Ooh, there we go. I don't know why it's being so bright today. There must be some outside light coming in. But as you can see down here, instead of there being a stark line, it's a light to medium to a heavy darkness. Now, as I said before, the one thing that I always keep on my desk and I always forget about is my brush. And as you probably just saw, I use my hand to brush away that little bit of pencil dust. And if you do that on a picture, you may end up very angry with yourself because now you've rubbed pencil dust right across your picture. I do it all the time and it bugs me. And that's why I do try my best to make sure that I have my pencil duster handy while I'm coloring, but I always forget to put it where my eyes can see it, and it gets put aside and never to be seen again. And I'm out of camera again. So on this side here as well, I'm blending that darker blue into the light blue, and up here a little bit as well on the very, very edge. And as you can see, I'm sort of moving into a triangular effect there, where the sun is coming like this. Okay, so that is our 3 little cubes of sunlight. I'll switch it back over to the main here so that you can see what I mean. Now this one here I think needs a little bit more dark up in here. Just a medium and a little bit more medium here. Try to make it as even as you can to fill that out. Like I said, I'm not trying to be extremely neat and tidy here. Just trying to give you the idea of where that light source is going to hit. So with this and the movement of the cube, this line is lined up directly with the sun. This one here is lined up directly pretty much on the side of this area here, and this one is right behind us. So you're going to see things right behind better than like right on top better, as well as behind. The back of this cube is going to be well lit up. The sun is going to reflect off the top and gently come down the sides a little bit, but not enough to illuminate the entire area. This one here is coming from there. It'll come down the sides here a little tiny bit onto the front panel, but mostly on the edge up top and on the edge down below. And the back, of course, will be illuminated. So that is light source. Where is your light source coming from? From the top, from the edges, that sort of thing. Now, another point of light source, let's see if I can find it here, is from, above or behind. So if it's a sphere, if it's a round sphere, you're going to have the light source above and behind. So it's going to roll down that sphere. So the top part of that sphere, or ball, or sphere, or however you want to say it, is going to be illuminated. The edges with it behind it is going to be illuminated because, oh, I've grabbed the wrong pencil. I put the wrong pencil in my hand. So if you have a light source above and a light source behind, you're going to have the edges illuminated from it being behind. Now down here at the bottom, not as much, but up here, up at the top and around the edges a little bit more because of where it's being illuminated from. If you can see it up here, it's only halfway down behind. So when you come in with your dark, leave a line at the bottom of that light. It doesn't have to be a thick line, just a little line. And then join the two together, and we'll join those two together with the light pencil over top of the dark, making it medium. And like I said, I'm not being particularly pretty about it. This is just to demonstrate where your light sources are going to be coming from, and how to draw those shadows for your light source. Depending upon where it's landing from. Okay. So with a sphere especially, the outer edges, because it is round, is going to reflect that light that is behind it. If there was a light behind this, the outer edges of this back part of the box would be lit up as well. Now, because this is round, it's pretty much all the way around it that's going to show that concave light. So if you have something round and you put a light behind it, it's going to show that light. I do apologize. My phone is making funny noises. So when you color the light source that is from behind, you're going to illuminate all the way around it. Okay, so we'll switch over to the close-up here so you can see that a little bit better. So because I've got the light going from behind, this one here is going down behind it. So this is going to be brighter, this is going to be darker, but you're also going to have a partial halo, basically, around the outside edge. Now this one's the same as this. So you're going to, because this is a sphere, this is a ball. Let's see if I can find a spherical thing. I don't have a ball. That's very weird. But I don't even have one of the dog's balls in here. Trying to see if I have anything that's roundish. Okay, so this bumble butt, it's quite literally a bumble butt, is round. So the light, now I'm going to turn on the main camera. So the light from my computer is hitting the back side of the bumble, and the front side of the bumble isn't getting any light at all. So the front side of the bumble is darker than the back side of the bumble. But because he's rounded, you can see that the light comes up and over to about this point before it starts getting shadowed. It comes up and over to about this point before it gets shadowed. So when it's roundish, it's going to come up a little bit more different than if it's a square. So this is a square. We have our light source coming from this direction. So we'll put the square up here. And of course, it's too much of a light source on a white object. So you're getting a lot more white than necessary. Let's see, I'm going to put something dark underneath there we go, underneath the cube so it's not reflecting so much. So we have our cube here, and the light source is coming this way, off the corner. This way, I mean. So this part here, as you can see, is quite white, and then it starts getting grayer as you come into this area. So this corner here, this whole corner here, is picking up that light source. This area down here is not. If you were to, let's see if I can move you. I'm going to move you for a second here to see the front of this. But of course, the camera has a thing built into it that changes the light. So if things are too dark, it changes it so it's lighter so you can see in it. Okay, so this area back here, of course, is light. You can see the light coming across the top. There's a little bit coming up the sides, but if you look inside, it's much darker in here. So this panel, if there was a panel on there, say this book is this panel, that is very dark in comparison. So when you have a three-dimensional object and your light source is hitting it, let's get you back up here so that you can see what I'm doing, not my lap. So when you have a three-dimensional object such as a cube and your light source is hitting a corner, that corner is going to be brighter than this corner. So this backside and up through here is all going to be brighter than this side here, half of this side here, and half of this side here. Now with a sphere, as I was showing you, like for example, no, it's not quite spherical enough. I don't really have a ball. I'm trying to find something that's ball-like. So, oh, that's more of a square. So this is as a sphere. Let's put a little bit of light behind this. You can see the light comes from the front around the sides. So the only part that's really dark is this side here. Oops, is the front half of it. So you've got the light comes all the way around instead of just down one side or down the other side or up the corner. It's all the way around. So if I was to put it this way and point it towards the light, move, objects out of the way, you're going to see the light source come right up over top as well as down the sides, if that makes sense. So with a ball, your light source is going to show slightly different than with a cube. So for example, with this one here coming down at the ball this way, we're going to have this whole area as a light source because it's going to wrap around that corner of the ball. And then the rest is going to be the dark. And of course, it's going to go from light to medium to dark. It's not going to go, oh, I've got light here, but I don't have light there. So make sure that you put in your transitional lights. Because this is pointing down, it's going to take up that curve. And you have to, of course, make sure that you transition that into the dark by going over it with your light. Or, of course, you can use 3 different pencils, a light, a dark, and a medium. Okay, so does that make sense? So this area down here is going to be a lot darker than the area pointing towards the light source. So when you're coloring a line art, follow where you want the light source to be coming from. If the artist has left you clues, follow those clues. And of course, this is going to be the opposite direction than this one. Now, with objects that are on top of each other, so for example, if this is a leaf and this is a flower and this is a leaf, and the light source is up here, this part of the flower, of course, is going to have light. This part down here isn't. However, the leaf behind the flower is going to have a shadow here, but the light will come up the corners here from the light source hitting off of the flower onto the leaf. So we're going to have a light source here and a light source here. From the back side of that flower, getting light from the light source above in the corner. So that part of the flower is going to be lighter than this part of the flower, because of the light source above. Now I could have done this in marker, but just to show you, but it's easier in pencil. And then down here, you're going to bring that shadow from the globe or the flower down into this lower globe. And the light is being blocked majority of the way by that globe. Now, if this was a front-facing light, all the front of this would be bright. But because the light is coming this way, this globe is blocking the light coming down onto this lower part of the leaf, but the light is getting past the globe onto the edges of this globe. Of course, remember to transition your colors together. So I hope that makes some sense to you. Now with this, of course, the back side of these globes are going to be lit up. You're going to have a shadow here, and you're going to have the shadows in the bottom. So you'll have this area here shadowed, and then this area here shadowed. Of course, if it was right behind it, you may have shadows all the way through the center and just around the edges lit up. I'm assuming that it is right above these two parts of the globe. So the lower part of the globe would be shadowed. The lower part of this globe would be shadowed. And the rest of it would be lit up by that light source. Now this part here is shadowed from this one here. So this is going to be even darker in this area from this globe, not just by shadows. So if you're just doing shadows, you're going to have a medium to darkness. If you have an overlap, you've got a darker darkness where that overlap is, because that object is blocking the other object. So as you can see, there's a light area from the sun hitting these areas. Now this part here is darker because this is overlapping, and because this is, in my brain, a ball, it has a bit of a shadow cast onto this one here. And the same goes for that. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. And I hope that today's lesson in different types of coloring books and different types of shadowing and light sources is helpful. The next one we're going to do is we're going to pick a picture. Of course, we've picked our book, and we've picked our pencils. Now we've looked at the light sources. The reason why we're looking at light sources is because we need to know, let's say we're going to pick a picture out of, let's see. No, let's do a line art one. See if there's a nice simple one. So we're going to pick a line art one out of this book here because it's nice and simple. And okay, so let's say this one here. Now we have to figure out where we want our light to be coming from. So do we want the light to be coming straight on, straight on, so it lights up the whole thing? Or do we want the light source coming from a corner of the sky? Do you want here, or maybe rising up from behind him? You know, what kind of light source do we want? So for the next lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to choose the direction of light source, and we're going to put in our shadows so that when we color, it gives us a better idea of what darker or lighter, different types of colors we want to be there. And that's all for today, guys. Of course, please leave a comment in the comment section below on what you were able, if you were able to find this video helpful to you at all, if you were able to learn anything from it, or anything positive that you want to say about the video, anything you want to learn that's that you don't know how to do already that I may not have touched on or don't know myself, that sort of thing. I know I'm way off center here from moving that camera around. I've made a mess. So, of course, leave me a comment about anything that you want to leave me a comment about, letting me know that you have watched the video, and your name will get a number. And on Monday, during Collection Mania Monday next week, I will be drawing from those numbers to win this beautiful book. Well, no, this beautiful book, sorry. Not this one, the one that I haven't colored in, which is over here. So this beautiful book, as well as another one that I will be doing a flip through during the week about. So actually, I'll draw them on Tuesday. Next Tips and Tricks Tuesday. Before our lesson or after our lesson, I will draw a number for 2 books from this artist. This artist is Jane Madej. She does Adorable Animals grayscale coloring, and another one which is a line art coloring book, and also has some fantastic step-by-step tutorials on how to color in the books. The paper in these books is fantastic, and I strongly suggest, I know that it's scary. I was terrified, absolutely terrified of grayscale coloring when I first started. But as soon as I started coloring light grayscale coloring, shaded grayscale coloring, it taught me a lot on where the shadows go, how to shadow eyes, how to shadow, small areas that you don't typically think about shadowing. So when you buy your books, try to find one, and I strongly suggest this to a lot of people who are new to coloring. Try to find one that has a grayscale version, a light grayscale version, or find a light grayscale book and color small bits in the grayscale book. So for example, if you were to do this picture here, and say you're coloring a different picture that has grapes in it, you can color this grape vine and grape cluster and see how those are shadowed, how those little balls are shadowed, and where to add those shadows and that sort of thing onto your line art coloring. It teaches you a lot. I learn a lot by doing. I don't learn very well by watching or by people telling me how to do things. I learn a lot by doing. So if you are purchasing a new book and you're new to coloring, I would strongly suggest that you purchase either Adorable Animals by Jane Madej or one of Christine Caron's grayscale books, any of her grayscale books. Her fairies book, I think it's 1 and 2, are a little bit darker than the rest of her fairy and fantasy line. Another one I strongly suggest is and recommend, of course, is Fanciful Fantasies. This one is very simple pictures, very, very quick to do, and very light shading. So this one here and the Jane Madej would definitely be ones that I would suggest. This one here, Fanciful Fantasies, I would suggest for a absolute beginner in coloring or in grayscale coloring, just because they're very simple. They're absolutely adorable, but they're very simple pictures, not a whole lot of background to distract you, but gives you the ability to, you know, how to see the shadows in cloth, how to see the shadows in hair, um, you know, the shadows on skin, stuff like that. This one here gives you great detail of shadows of different rooms, different squares, different corners, that sort of thing. So I would definitely suggest this book, first of all, for anyone just starting out. The next one I would definitely suggest for your next endeavor into grayscale would be Adorable Animals. There's a lot more detail in here, but it gives you the ability to, it teaches you the ability to do feathers, to do skin, to do seeds, to do wood, to do fruit, frogs. You know, it gives you a really good mixture of different materials, whether it's plants, whether it's dirt, whether it's, you know, leather, anything like that. It gives you a really good variety of things to figure out in color. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, and I hope that you will leave me a message to win this beautiful book, as well as another one that I will be doing a flip through of during the week. So watch out for a bonus flip through of another book that will be included with this giveaway. So I will be choosing names on Tuesday, next Tuesday. This is going to happen either during or after my next tutorial video, and where we're actually going to start looking at a picture and coloring it. Until then, and of course tomorrow is Work in Progress Wednesday, and I'm not going to be working on anything tomorrow. I will be going through and doing a review of all of the things that are going to be up for auction on Sunday, and giving everybody a final opportunity to, of course, register for the auction. And of course, giving out the information on how to do that. So I will see you all tomorrow for our live event at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time, right here on the Coloring Corner. Of course, like, comment, and subscribe. So if you're not already a subscriber to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. I do put out a video every day, and you know, except for Sundays. Sundays is a special day where I do special occasion stuff. If you want to join us over on Facebook, I would be happy to have you join us. Of course, the link is in the About section or the description below the video. The only thing that we do ask is that you fill out the application form. It's 3 or 4 questions. You know, it's basically so that we know that you're not a bot, and you're not a scammer or somebody that's out to get information or take pictures, stuff like that. So please fill out the application. Most people that don't fill out the application, we just classify as scammers, and you know, don't accept them into our group. What else did I have to tell you about? That's about it. Oh, the final thing, of course, is I will be listing all of these books in the About section below, in the description below, and all of the links that are listed there will be affiliate links. And what an affiliate link does is it does provide me with a small commission, so it does give me a couple of cents every time you buy something from a link. So all of those funds do go towards the content of the channel, as well as giveaways and shipping and handling of any giveaway prizes. So please use the links. It doesn't cost you anything. There is absolutely no cost to you at all, and it helps me out a little bit. finally, and last but not least, of course, is to relax, color, and stay safe, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye for now.